Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Commander Clash podcast, where the Commander Clash crew talks all things Commander. And this week, we are talking about sagas in Commander. We just got a bunch of new ones, saga creatures in Final Fantasy, and that got us thinking about what sagas are best in Commander, what ones do we play, what ones do we disagree on. So we're going to be covering sagas today. Before we get into that, we got a crew to introduce, and we're kicking things off with Phil. How's it going today, Phil?
Hi-oh. I play a lot of sagas.
You do like your sagas.
I can say, yeah.
Also, Budget Commander Tomer. How's it going today, Tomer? Oh, mid-sip. I'm sorry. Bad timing.
Hello. No, it's perfect timing. I'm always sipping. I like sagas too. I recently just built a white-black saga deck.
Who's your commander?
Final Fantasy. It's going to be a secret.
Oh, secret saga commander. Okay.
I probably shouldn't even mention anything. You'll know soon enough.
And of course, the Asian Avenger, Krim. How's it going today, Krim?
Pretty good. Excited to talk about sagas, all considering that they just, I don't know, they feel like a balanced version of Planeswalkers in some way.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, like Yuna just came out not too long ago, so I'm a big Final Fantasy X lover, so I'm excited to build around Yuna.
Yeah, there's definitely some cool saga synergies in the new Final Fantasy set. That is for sure. And I'm Seth, probably better known as Ever now, but I gotta say, I think sagas are like the best new card type, or like whatever you want to call them, added to Magic in like the last 5 or 10 years. Like, they're so good. Definitely the opposite of like battles, which kind of they made and no one played them. But sagas you see all over the place, from formats like Standard all the way back to Commander. So we had a lot of good stuff to talk about. But before we get into that, a reminder that today's show is brought to you by Foil Armor. Do you have problems with your foils curling? Well, Foil Armor is the ultimate solution to flattening your foils. It's a 2-way humidity pack that you simply put inside an airtight container with your cards. And Foil Armor will absorb and release moisture, making your cards completely flat. Put it back in your storage box to keep your cards flat forever, and you can head over to foilarmor.com and use the code MTGGoldfish to get 15% off. Our show is also brought to you by Card Conduit, the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. If you ever get tired of the hassles of buy listing, you can skip them with Card Conduit. You can use their curated service where you send in as many cards as you want with a buy list value of $1 or more and pay just a 5% service fee. And if you want to do a bit of work, you can use the sorted service where you list and sort your cards in advance and pay just a 2% fee. Either way, you're going to get a detailed report with the results in a fast payment once your order is processed. And you can even get another 10% off by heading over to cardconduit.com/mtggoldfish. Card Conduit, it's the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. So thank you to our sponsors for supporting this show. And now it's time for the comment of the week. So last week, we discussed the best new commanders, the best new legends from the Final Fantasy set. And our top comment comes from Eclipse 9494 FTW. Says, this won't make the top comment, but Seth, do you have any beard grooming tips? Somehow Eclipse, it didn't. I feel like because Eclipse said it wouldn't make the top comment, people intentionally made it make the top comment. Honestly, it's not as interesting as you think. The secret to growing a good beard is honestly just not shaving. Like, I do so little with my beard. Like, wash it a couple times a year, maybe comb it once in a while. But really, the trick is just not to shave, and you end up with a beard. Like, it's as simple as that.
Maybe this is a new Patreon video.
Beard tips with
beard
Seth.
grooming tips.
I was thinking of
Very
becoming
short,
a beauty YouTuber, doing some makeup tutorials, maybe beard grooming tips.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to get on that, yeah.
I'd subscribe.
Anyway, let's talk some sagas. So we're going to start by going over some of the sagas that we all agree are really good, and then we'll get to some of our personal favorites and some of the more contentious ones, maybe some of the new ones. So I should say, when we were getting a list for this, Ouroboros Sheoldred showed up as some of the most, and Vorinclex too, is some of the most popular sagas on EDH Rec for Commander. We're not going to count those, because honestly, most times you see them in Commander, it's really the creature side, and then once in a while they flip to the saga side. But because they don't get played as a saga, and most of the time they're just creatures, we're going to exclude those from the list. So we have, I think, 4 sagas that are all like S tier, A tier. We all agree are really good. So let's kick it off with our number 1 ranked saga, which is Urza's Saga. So if you don't know Urza's Saga, we've talked about this one a bunch of times in the past. It's a saga land, an enchantment land. Its first lore counter lets it make a colorless mana. Its second lore counter, when you get to chapter 2, you can pay 2 and make a 0/0 colorless construct artifact creature token that gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. And then lore counter number 3, search your library for an artifact card with mana cost 0 or 1 generic mana in specific. So you can't be colored mana there. and put it on the battlefield and then shuffle. So Urza Saga, guys, what do you think of this one?
If we played Soul Ring, it would be in every deck. Otherwise, I need 2 targets. If I would play Soul Ring, I would force the second target, like Haywire Might or something, and then it would be in every deck on Clash. It's so good. It also benefited the most, I think, from the new rules change. We haven't talked about this, but now
Yep.
Sagas keep their abilities because of layers. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. If they lose all abilities. So if they lose all abilities, they keep their abilities and don't die. That was the thing that happened before.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. They changed. So the rule used to be for Sagas that if the number of lower counters on it was ever less than or equal to the number of chapters on it, it would immediately go to the graveyard. You just have to sacrifice it. So they got rid of that rule. So now you won't automatically sacrifice it, mostly because they didn't want people to, like, if you played a witness protection on a Saga creature and make it lose all of its abilities, like, just go to the graveyard in standard. So that was a reason for changing it. But yeah, it benefits Urza Saga a lot because it means Urza Saga works under, like, Blood Moon effects if your opponent has a Magus of the Moon out or Harbinger of the Seas. So it does get even better there. But I agree, this card kind of gets wrecked by our house bans a little bit just because we don't play Soul Ring. But if you're playing Soul Ring, it's really good because, like Phil said, you really only need 1 or 2 other cards, maybe a Skull Clamp or Wayfarer's Bauble or whatever to make it worth putting in your deck. What about you, Tomer? Where are you at with Urza Saga?
I run it in like 2 decks. It's like very, very expensive as a card.
Yeah,
And
modern
yeah,
players.
I don't have Soul Ring in any of my decks. But if I do have like a little package going on, like if I'm an artifact deck, or if I have like cards that I really care about, like if I'm in Voltron, I love Commander's Plate, for example, is fantastic to pick up with it,
Yeah.
or a Shadow Spear. So regardless though, this is a ridiculously overpowered Saga that if you can find a home for it, it definitely is worth the slot because it's just a land. It costs 0 mana to put it out there, and it does so much for you.
I know
But yeah.
from 2, we've also seen some games where the construct is hugely impactful, like especially in an
Oh, yeah.
artifact deck. Like, yeah, the tutoring's nice, but you're making this like 10-10 or 15-15. So I feel like we've had some Clash games where that construct is like the biggest creature on the battlefield.
I mean, it's why I'd rather the new rule changes just make it so I'd rather have it so I make constructs forever. Right? Like,
Yeah.
I'd rather do that than go tutor through my deck. But if you need to have tutor targets, my brother in Graveyard Hate, can I introduce you
Vacuum.
to our
Let's
Lord and
go.
Savior Ghost Vacuum?
Ghost
Like,
Vacuum's
I
true.
will talk about Ghost
Oh.
Vacuum.
You
This
play that in
tutors
every
up
deck,
Ghost
don't
Vacuum.
you? Like,
That is very
like,
good, I
yeah.
have to admit.
No
yeah.
Soul Ring, Ghost Vacuum. Problem solved.
They
I
pay
mean,
in
Graveyard
every
Hate's
time.
always good, and it's a win con. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, cards an ace, right? It's super solid.
It's really good. Well, let's move on to our
$50.
next. It is very expensive because like Modern and Legacy, but yeah, it is a strong card. Our next S tier saga or A tier saga, one we all agree on, Fable of the Mirror Breaker. So Fable of the Mirror Breaker, you probably remember this one from Standard. It's a 3-mana red saga. When it enters, you make a 2/2 red goblin creature token. Then when it attacks, you make a treasure. Lower counter number 2, you can discard up to 2 cards, draw that many cards. And then lower counter number 3, you exile it, returning its Reflections of Kiki-Jiki, a 2/2 goblin shaman enchantment creature, where you can pay 1 and tap it to make a token that's a copy of a target non-legendary creature you control. It gets haste, it goes away on your end step. And I gotta say, this card just keeps growing on me in Commander. I used to think of it as a standard card, and I didn't play it in many Commander decks. Now I play it in literally every red Commander deck. Like, I don't even care. Like, to me, this is the combination of ramp from the Goblin and card filtering, which I think is pretty powerful in red decks anyway, which doesn't have a lot of like actual card draw. But I feel like those 2 modes makes me be able to justify playing this is in one of my like utility cards is like a ramp spell / card draw effect. So I just yam this in like every red deck for value. But what do you guys think of this one?
I love this card, and I think you're right that it's really good. But because I saw it every day,
You're
on
sick of it from
Standard,
Standard. Yeah, it was
that I
brutal
saw it in
Standard.
Pioneer, and it's
Yep.
just like all I think about is just my eye twitching. It's like, where can I go to not see Rakdos?
Yeah, but
You know what I
maybe
mean?
it's not good enough for Standard anymore, though.
I don't know. This thing it's like kind of crept under the radar and for constructed like 60 card, and oh my god, I was so wrong. I thought this was doo-doo water at reveal, and turns out I'm doo-doo water. This card is so good.
So
I think
good.
the best part about it is that the backside is actually very strong, but people accept it. I think if you could play the backside just as is, as a creature, people would just focus you. But somehow they don't care as much, I feel like. I played this.
Well,
I started cutting it again because unless I have synergies with it, which synergies is just creatures with
Triggers your
ETBs.
talent, Phil. with
Yeah,
that
yeah,
one
that's what I
token.
mean. It's very easy to get synergies with it because it does so many things. But
that's exactly why no one attacks you for it, though. It's unassuming. No one thinks
it is
much of
kind of
it.
unassuming.
That's
they
why,
didn't play
like in
stand-up.
spoiler season, it crept by, right? Like
Yeah,
no one thought much of it. But it is also aggressively costed compared to like all the sagas, right? If you think about it, it's like 3 mana. It's really efficient.
I think it's like I agree. It's very good. It's one of the best sagas. But I also just kind of, I don't know, in multiplayer, that 2/2 I feel like is going to attack one time. It's going to make a single treasure, and then it's going to die because like if you could give it evasion, it gets so much better. If it's like in a deck that can have like equipments or something, any way that it can give it evasion. But otherwise, I don't expect this 2/2 to actually be able to swing and live to tell the tale. If you can give it evasion, it's way, way better. But then even considering that, it just makes like a treasure on one chapter, and then it rummages, and then it flips into this really, really powerful copy effect. I think all of that is still good. But yeah, I don't think it's like on the same level of Urza Saga, but it is something that I would heavily consider if I'm in a red deck.
Fun fact about the Tushu. The token is now worth more than the Saga. The token is like $9 and the Saga starts at
I have that one.
$8.70. So right now, just checking
And
current prices. This might not be true in practice, but it is kind of funny how this is one of the most popular tokens still.
they're both worth
Really
more than
expensive.
Tarmogoyf.
Oh,
What a world
yeah.
we live in.
Yikes.
All right, our next A-tier saga. We got one that kind of surprised me that this snuck into the A-tier, but it's Binding the Old Gods. So Binding the Old Gods, it's a Golgari saga. It's 4 mana. First lore counter, destroy target non-land permanent opponent controls. Second lore counter, search your library for a forest card, not a basic, any forest. Put it on the battlefield tab, then shuffle. Last lore counter, kind of sucks. Creatures you control get death touch until end of turn. I think this is a really good saga. The problem I have with it is just that it's in Golgari, so the colors make it hard to play in as many decks as I want to. But I think that 4 mana blow up any non-land your opponent controls into ramp any forest, so you can get a Surveil land or a Shockland or a Triome. Just those 2 modes, even with the last mode kind of being a dud for me. I guess you can break through a board stall or something, but a lot of times it just doesn't do that much, the third lore counter. But just the first 2 modes are good enough that I play this as a ramp spell in most of my Golgari decks. And a lot of my, if you have like multicolor card synergies, it also goes up in value there as well. But where are you guys at with Binding the Old Gods?
This is like one of my most played sagas.
Yeah, so good.
The card is like
Well-
dirt cheap for one. Yes, it's Golgari colors. And yes, the 4 mana destroy something is like slow and maybe a little bit overcosted by 1 mana. But the fact that you can play it, you immediately get the biggest chapter value out of the way first. And then the second chapter value is very good. The third chapter, I get you like you said, Seth, it's not very
No.
it's very narrow in its application. It works best with creatures with trample, because if you give death touch to your tramplers, then chump blocking is no longer an option for your opponents, which is quite nice. But yeah, the fact that it's so front loaded is what I really like. I like the chapters 1 and 2 are really, really good. And I also like, I'm also shifting away from targeted removal that doesn't give me something as well. And this is a targeted removal that ramps you. And I think that's pretty nice.
Is this
I
card
never
not
played
what a
it.
planeswalker like? All these cards are like why I love sagas and Commander, because it's like they get around the planeswalker problem, right? Planeswalkers, they all do one thing, usually a removal spell at first, but then they die. This
Well,
guarantees me the
immediately.
removal spell, and it lets me get all the modes, right? So like hypothetically, it'd be like if my planeswalker got every mode on there except for maybe not the busted alt. But the main thing here is that's why I love Binding the Old Gods. You know, it feels like, okay, it comes down. I get my -3 ability on a planeswalker. I get my Nissa ability at chapter 2. And then it's a 2-chapter saga. I've never had the 3rd chapter be relevant. But Like those first 2 modes just for 4 mana is absurdly solid.
Yeah, I never played, but I agree. The Planeswalker comparison is pretty good, and I don't know. I just never. Maybe I never play Golgari,
That might be.
or it's too generic to make Golgari decks if I play them. But I can.
Not even
I'm
in
not gonna argue.
Sultai,
It's
Phil?
very
It's
solid.
like
I know,
Glarb.
but
Mix with
like,
Ballad?
whenever do you play this?
Glarb?
It's like Golgari Solemn Simulacrum almost. Like it
Mhm.
reminds me a lot of
Yeah.
Solemn, where you get like a card, but the card is putting your opponents down a card in this case, rather than you drawing a card, and you get a land out of it. Plus, you get the upside of getting non-basics. So if you're playing Golgari, keep this one in mind because it is pretty powerful. All right, our last old A-tier saga. We have the Restoration of Eiganjo. So Restoration of Eiganjo, 3 mana white saga. First lore counter, search your library for a basic plains card, put it in your hand, and then shuffle. Second lore counter, you may discard a card. When you do, return a permanent card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. And then last lore counter, number 3, you exile it, return it transformed as Architect of Restoration, a 3/4 enchantment creature fox monk with vigilance, and when it attacks or blocks, make a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token. Phil, I know you play this one relatively often. Tell us a little bit about Restoration.
So this is kind of the reason why I say I play a lot of sagas. This is
Mhm.
so good, especially if you curve into Scholar of. Oh wait, I got it.
Oh,
New
New
Horizons.
New Horizons, right? The thing that can remove counters, which there's a new 2-drop that also does this, like a blue 2-drop.
This like
And-
Oaka. It's a Final Fantasy X card.
Weird
It's
name, yeah.
blue.
It just taps to remove a counter. So this is it just plays so well. I would rank it at A, but I play it as an S, like in almost every white deck. It just does everything very good. Basic planes, that's my only complaint. Otherwise, I would give it an S for sure. But the reanimation, if you loop the reanimation mode, you can get fetch lands back and everything. And also triggers good old Caretaker's talent on the backside.
How much value do you put in the backside of this one? Because I feel like I play this one mostly just for the front side, although the backside is not horrible. But I feel like the front side is one of the better white ramp spells that isn't catch-up ramp, because you can always get a plains and then just discard it and put into play. It's a little bit slow, but unlike a lot of white ramp, it doesn't depend on you being behind on lands, which I think is actually really powerful. And then I think the backside's just kind of a bonus, but I'm kind of like Phil, where I play it in every deck, but the backside, I'm kind of like, I'd play it just for the front side. If the backside didn't exist, I'd probably still play the card, just
It
as
is a
like a
good
white ramp
blocker.
spell. Yeah, it is
And
a good
good attacker
blocker,
if
and it
it's-
is good with Caretaker's talent, I guess. But
Yes.
Tomer, how about you? Do you like this one?
No.
Not really.
It's like I've seen it played a lot. I've never been too impressed. Like the difference between this and like the Binding of the Old Gods, for example, is like the Binding Chapter 2, it just ramps you straight up, and that's it. And this one is like the first chapter is setting up the second chapter. So it's basically the first chapter essentially does nothing for me. It's like, imagine if the Binding of the Old Gods didn't blow something up and just like chapter 1, do nothing. Chapter 2, you ramp. And then I'm like, okay, that's sick. The third chapter is better. You get a body than it just giving Death Touch. It doesn't just go away. So I think it's okay. It's good-ish. I would sometimes run it. It works a lot better with fetch lanes, obviously, because then you can like discard that bad plains to get a fetch. But then still, it also enters tapped. If it didn't enter untapped, if it entered untapped, I think I would be much higher on this card, honestly. But if the fact that it's tapped kind of hurts.
We have
It can't be better than green in ramp, right? So it's got to at least
true.
have some drawback there, right? Like, I think this is really solid in mono white and decks
Yeah.
that don't have green, right? Like these are like little critters deck, things like that. And yeah, like I think the card is good, but in a specific archetype. But whereas I do think Old Gods, Binding the Old Gods, is just generically solid. Like I would say Bindings is like a good A-tier saga. Or maybe like A-tier or so. But
It was like a B
I don't know.
plus for me.
this card is like a B+. I think it's very close to being in almost every deck, but within that, it's very limiting as well because it only gets something that's 2 or less.
Yeah. Although I will say, we focus so much on using it as a ram spell. you can get back any permanent mana value 2 or less. So sometimes you get back your like Spirited Companion or something, your Skull Clamp that got blown up.
Good.
So there is a little flexibility there. But yeah, solid one to keep in mind.
Your
All right.
Urza Saga.
Ooh, yours. Get back. Yeah, you can get back Urza Saga.
You get back something
keep
else,
it
and
going.
you also ensure a land drop too. Sometimes you miss a land drop, and you're like, okay, I'll
Yeah.
just play this planes. I'll discard something else.
Yep.
And then I'll reanimate that, and it'll be like, yeah, that's good.
I mean, it's awkward, but the discard is even a
Flexible.
may. Like, you can just be like, no, and not even discard, but then it kind of defeats the
value.
purpose. All right, we have one more A-tier saga, but this one's a little speculative because we haven't actually got to play with it yet, because this is a new Final Fantasy card. But based on how the card reads, we all kind of agree that this card at least looks really good, and we have it ranked pretty highly. And that is Summon Yojimbo, which I'm sure I
Yojimbo.
said that
Yojimbo.
really.
Yojimbo.
Yojimbo. Yojimbo.
No,
Okay,
Yojimbo.
Yeah.
Yojimbo.
Yojimbo. I'm going to stick with that.
Tell
Yojimbo.
Square Enix, get them on the line. Tell them we have a new pronunciation.
Hey, if you pronounce Titus, I don't even know how I can help you. So this is a 4-mana 5/5 Saga Samurai creature. So these are one of the new Saga creatures. Works like a Saga, but you also get a body. 4 chapters on this one. First lore counter, exile target artifact, enchantment, or tap creature an opponent controls. Second and third lore counter the same. Until your next turn, creatures can't attack you unless it's controller piece 2 for each of those creatures. And then last lore counter, number 4, create X treasure tokens, where X is the number of opponents who control a creature with power 4 or greater. So Phil, you kind of brought this to my attention. I overlooked this one during spoiler season. How do you play this one? Do you just jam this in every white deck? What do you think of Yojimbo?
I will in the beginning. It seems like I love like ghostly prison effects. You can probably always get value out of the first chapter. I don't know if tapped creature happens too much. And then create. How many treasures do you create with this? Probably like 1, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
it could be up to 3, but I would say it's very matchup dependent, right? If you're up against a token deck that's going wide with little creatures, you're probably not going to trigger it. I would say probably 1 on average, maybe 1.5 on average, something like that.
I mean, it's obviously good if you can loop the chapters. Otherwise, you have it enter, then you untap. It's a 5/5 vigilance, so it's actually a good attacker or blocker. So you have it for 1-2 turns to attack, and then I guess 2 turns to block as well. It vanishes at your third draw main phase after draw phase. So they do vanish quicker than you expect. Like, we played the early access event already, and they are gone pretty quick. Like, this has 4 chapters, that's good. But the ones with 3 are very elusive. I kind of underestimated it, even though they play as they read. But
they're more like
vanishing,
like traditional sagas.
Yeah, they are gone.
A creature that
quite
sits around
fast.
and attacks regularly.
Once
Yeah.
the third chapter hits, they're done. So like that is something I notice a lot of people forgetting. It's just like, yeah, okay, it's gone after that third chapter.
It's good that you can block with them without much cost. Like, if you know it's gonna be gone, you just have a very easy blocker. But that's just.
What I also really like about it is if it dies, and you've activated the second or third chapter that turn, that effect is still functioning, right? Like
It's
like,
not attached to the
so-
card. It's like a trigger that goes on the stack, and you're gonna get that effect, even if it dies.
that's like a nice difference between like a ghostly prison,
Yep.
where if somebody wants to swing at you for lethal, they can blow up the ghostly prison and then do that. But this one, they could if those effects are on or already happening. They can blow up Yojimbo, but then they still have to pay 2 to attack you. And I really like that safety net there, where like, yeah, even if Yojimbo's dead, I still have that effect until my next turn. I just really like this one. I like the early the removal, chapter 1, chapter 2 and 3. I really like ghostly prison effects in Commander. Chapter 4 is like, it's just like, okay, you got 1 treasure, maybe 2 treasures. It's like whatever, but like, it's just 4 mana.
It's a little like Binding the Old Gods, right? Where this is like a removal spell that does additional things in your deck. The other thing I like about the Saga creatures is it's a lot easier to blink a creature than it is to blink an enchantment.
True.
So if you're doing
Oh,
blink
yeah.
shenanigans,
True.
you can kind of reset this and kind of turn it more into like a permanent ghostly prison almost, where you're able to like keep it going and keep it going. Also, Phil alluded to this a little bit, but there's a lot of shenanigans for Sagas in the Final Fantasy set, more I think than we've seen in any set in the past, where there's more ways to like remove counters and add counters. So I feel like Sagas keep getting better in that sense too. There's just more shenanigans with them now than there were in the past, but those are the Sagas that we all agree are really good. But we also have a bunch of Sagas that we might not agree on, or maybe some of us like, other ones don't like, personal favorites. So let's go around and talk about some other Sagas that we might not all agree on. And let's kick things off with Phil. Phil, why don't you hit us with another Saga?
With this one, I'm not even vouching for it. I just want to hear your opinions because we've seen it being played and talked about, and I played it, and I think I played it to the best extent when I played it. It's there and back again. It's 5 mana. It's the most Richard Wham card ever.
Poor Richard.
First
If you're
chapter.
listening to this.
There's absolutely nothing. Richard is editing this, so thank you.
Oh, God. Everybody be nice. Everybody
Yes.
be cool.
So first chapter sadly does nothing. Up to one target creature can't block for as long as you control there and back again. If it would be can't attack, I would probably like this way more, but then it wouldn't be red. It's 2 red and 3 colorless. Second mode is pretty good. Search your library for a mountain card, put it on the battlefield untapped. And then the third chapter is actually very good. It's Create Smaug, a legendary 6/6 red dragon token with flying and haste. And when this creature dies, create 14 treasure tokens. Smaug is insane. And the only time we've seen Smaug, I had a crazy combo going with City of Death, another saga that copies tokens every turn. So that's obviously very good with Smaug because then it legend rules and everything. But so have we ever seen this do anything besides that one game where I played all sagas and everybody was playing jank and I somehow assembled something good? I don't know.
It rams. Worst case, the
So
floor on this
smart.
card is it puts a mountain on the battlefield, and you're playing a red deck, and beggars can't be choosers, as they say. If you're playing red, you don't have a lot of ways to actually, like, ramp a land onto the battlefield. It's just not what red does. So I know it's not great. It's not especially efficient, but I play this in a lot of my red decks, like, just because of the ramping mode. And then, like you said, like, if you do get to Smog is kind of wild. 14 treasures is an absurd amount of mana once you get to that point. So if you got sacrifice synergies or anything like that, it gets even better because you can just make the mana out of it. But I think it's good enough to play as a ramp spell. I don't really think it's a great ramp spell, but it's a red deck, so you got to do what you got to do.
It's not like if you do get to Smaug, you just have to wait or survive, I guess.
Well, someone could
So
blow
you
it up
should
in
get
theory to prevent
some-
you from getting there, but
It's fine, I guess.
The main
Ah.
thing is, I just feel
I
like
know Tomer
this is
hates
so
this card.
clunky.
it is.
This
It
card
is
is so
clunky. It's
clunky.
clunky,
Not good.
but it gets you a mountain crib,
I-
not even a basic
Is that
mountain.
really what you need?
Untapped.
it could be a
Yes, it's just a
survival
mountain.
land.
It could be.
Okay, I have actually softened up on this card a little bit. The thing, so my main issue with this is that, like, if you're playing this on like turn 5 or 4, and then you finally get to ramp on turn 6 or 7 a single mountain, that I do not value that ramp very highly.
Yeah.
Like one rampant growth in red on turn 7 or 6 is not worth the same amount to me as a ramp on turn 2, you know? And yes, it is mono red, where beggars can't be choosers. But I mean, you could just run a mana rock at that point. Come on.
But farewell,
You
Tomer,
could
but
still-
farewell.
You can still ramp. I value early game ramp way more than late game ramp, unless that late game ramp does like something absurd, like a mana geyser. You know,
Yeah.
it's like it's making so much mana that yes, it's worth delaying everything. But I do like what it's doing, and I think the way I would run it is if I'm in a deck that is focusing on like board wipes, basically. Just like resetting. I'm going for the late game. I want to turn this like average turn 7 game into an average turn 15 game. Hell yes, because then I want long-term stability, long-term ramp, long-term value. And then I would be like, okay, I'm going to run every single creature board wipe in existence in my red deck. I'm going to wipe the board. I'm going to delay. And then I'm going to have there and back again, Smog's going to come out and everything. But if we're just like going for like an average game and the game's ending on like turn 8 or something, this is never making the cut for me. Does that make sense? Or
I actually agree with you that late game ramp is worse than early game ramp. So I'll give you that much. But I think late game ramp still has some value, even if it's not as much value as ramping on turn 2 or something. So it still makes the cut for me, even in, I guess if I'm playing a very aggro red deck. If I'm playing aggro, I'm less likely to play this. But if I'm playing a slower red deck, then I think it's actually worth it. But Kramer, what were you going to say? Sorry, I kind of cut you off.
Well, what I was going to allude to, what I was getting at is just like the fact that this is clunky, and that is why I need this to be drawn exactly before turn 5. Like, I need this on 5. Every turn later, it feels kind of rough, right? Like, it feels really irrelevant if you draw it like turn 8. Now,
That's
you
true.
could say the same of like a Farseek or something like that, but Farseek's 2 mana, right? So 2 mana to cast that makes it cheap, makes it okay. It's not clunky. That's fine. It's deck thinning, yada, yada, yada. But like, this is just 5 mana. So I don't know. I'm still low on this card. Like, I loved watching Phil do his thing with the sagas, like on that episode, but like that was on Jank Week where we were all running the loosest game plans possible.
Yeah.
So like there in Jank Week, yeah, this is probably a house because it is the Jank Lord. So I think
it's so good though.
Smog is
the
good.
Smog's
Yeah.
fine.
It's
takes
pretty good.
3 turns to show up. Like, he's very good, but oh my god. And like, I think if you are going to go to chapter 3 with this and the game is not ended yet, I think I would actually waste a removal spell on it. It is strong enough.
The 14 treasures is legit scary. Like, that's the part that scares me. Like, if you make this and I don't have a swords or like exile removal, I could see actually killing the enchantment just to avoid the death trigger. Because if you make 14 mana, I'm expecting you're gonna kill me. Like, that's like a mana
that's
guy.
just turn 7 though. If you make it, come on, we play like 10 turns.
Yeah.
Right? Don't we have stats on this? I think 10
you're welcome, everybody.
If you have it right,
God,
5. But if you've drawn on like turn 8 or something, then it's like the game might be.
If the
ending.
first chapter was good, I'd be all in on this. It's
The
like
first-
I like my chapters, my sagas to be front loaded. You know,
It's the reverse binding the old gods, where the super weak chapter is the first one, and then they get better and better. But yeah. All right, let's keep moving forward. Tomer, you're up next. Give us a saga we should talk about.
Okay, I have a new favorite saga, and I
Ooh.
haven't even played with it yet. But I feel like this is going to be, I already know, this is going to be my most played saga out of all of them. It's going to be going into so many of my brand new green decks. And that is Summon Fenrir. It's a 3 mana, 2 and a green, enchantment creature, Saga Wolf. It's a 3/2. And it has 3 chapters. The first chapter is Crescent Fang. Search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Chapter 2, Heavenward Howl. When you next cast a creature spell this turn, it enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. And then chapter 3, Ecliptic Growl. Okay. Draw a card.
Ecliptic Growl.
Ecliptic Growl. Okay, good for it. Draw a card if you control the creature of the greatest power or tied for the greatest power. So what this is reading to me is this is just like straight up power crept Farhaven Elf, which Farhaven Elf I still run in 2025. I'm still happy.
Wow.
I'm still happy to run it because it's like it's ETB ramps you. Yes, it's slower than like rampant growth, Farseek, and all those stuff. But if you care about having a body on the battlefield, like if you're a blink deck or a sacrifice deck or whatever, I'm okay spending an extra mana on my ramp spell if the creature is very relevant to my game plan. So Fenrir is just like an upgraded version of that. Because it dies eventually, but who cares? It's just a mana ramp card. I expect my Farhaven Elf not to survive very long too, because I'm going to chump block with it eventually. But on top of that, this is sometimes randomly going to draw you a card. Like on top of that, like it ramps you, it's a 3/2, so it's a much better chump blocker than your Farhaven Elf, which is like a 1/1, or Wood Elf is a 1/1. So this can actually trade. And then it gives a counter on something. Like, okay, whatever.
Don't sleep on chapter 2. Don't sleep on chapter 2.
Chapter 2 is quite nice. And then chapter 3, it will randomly sometimes draw me a card. Like, imagine Farhaven Elf just said, Farhaven Elf's a 3/2, and it will randomly grow something and also randomly draw you a card sometimes. I'm like, how?
And trade.
Yes.
With
trade,
or hold off a blocker and deal some damage in the meantime.
it's insane.
It is worth pointing out that it is going to kill itself after a couple turns.
Sure.
So, yes, it can jump block if someone's attacking you on turn 4, turn 3, I guess, but it's not guaranteed to be able to jump block later in the game. I'm actually skeptical of this card. I know other people are really high on this. When we were thinking about doing this as a tier list, I think I gave it a C or something because
No way.
I feel like green has a lot of ramp options. And I'm not sure if the upside on this is enough to make me replace my other ramp spells with it. You know me, I put a lot of value in getting non-basic lands. So this only gets a basic land. So that's already one strike against it. I don't think the card's horrible. I think it's more for me if I'm playing a enchantment, I'm playing Sethis, and I want a land ramp spell that's going to trigger my commander. I'm playing a Saga style deck. I'm playing if I'm playing something that this synergizes with because it's an enchantment or it's a saga or stuff like that, then I'm totally on board with this card. But as far as just I'm going to jam it in every green deck like I would a 3 visits, I don't think it's that for me.
Yeah.
It's more of in specific decks I think it's good, but I don't think it's a staple level green card for me for every deck.
Would you run it in a blink deck?
Oh boy, that one's close. My only concern would be the fact that it sacrifices itself. I think I got to play more with these sagas. I got to play them a little bit on early access day in standard, but I really got to play more with them and see how does it feel? Does the sacrificing yourself after a couple turns, is it still practical in blink? Does the timing line up? So
What about
maybe.
sacrifice decks?
Sacrifice,
couple
yes.
turns, it's
If you're
one turn.
triggering. Well, you play it one turn, it lives to attack one turn, sacrifice it the next turn. Yeah, I guess that's true. It's
Or
I
it
guess
just
it's
triggers
one
morbid
turn.
opportunists on the way out.
Yes.
Like that.
If you have death
Yeah.
triggers, aristocrat synergies, that would be another deck where I would put it in. So enchantment synergies, saga synergies, death trigger synergies, which I guess when you add it up, that's actually kind of a lot of decks. So maybe it is kind of good. I'm just I'm not gonna play it in my normal green ramp decks. I don't think it's quite to that level. But I also don't play Fairhaven or Farhaven Elf anymore. So
I
wouldn't play Farhaven Elf, but I would play this, right? This is much better than a Farhaven Elf. Just
but
because
that's not 5 elves. We gotta compare it to Clifftop Lookout and Wood Elves, right?
yeah,
So
I guess there's
who plays
sure.
five?
Farhaven Elf
This
is kinda
power
down the
grab
list.
so long ago. This is
I mean,
obviously better, but
Why not?
I mean, exactly. That's why I would play it, right? Because those cards needed a little bit of a little more juice.
yeah. Okay,
And
so
this
I
card
play
has
But
I play a lot of 3 mana creatures that ramp, especially since Spring Heartland Tuco came out, and this one really sparked my interest. That then I kind of found out that it sacrifices after 1 turn, so I got 1 turn to slap a Spring Heartland Tuco on it. It only gets basics. Also, it has to compete with, for 3 mana, you got Wood Elves, untapped any Fair Forest, you got Spring Heartland Tuco, could be anything off the top, you don't have to shuffle. And you have the Overlord of the Houndwoods, which gets an everywhere. It's a token that triggers the talent. And it impends into the big thing. It also allows for actual infinite land tokens with Spring Heartland Tuco. So I would love to love this, but I don't think it will make the cut for me, even though it's kind of weird because it does everything I want, except for basic land. Yuck. I don't know if this makes the cut. You guys have to play it and then convince me to play it, but I'm not
Play it
going
on
to
my
do the
green deck, don't
testing.
worry. It's
Yeah,
going
I would play this in a majority of my green decks if I just that additional 1/1 counter making my commander bigger also feeds
Yeah.
into the ecliptic
counter decks, yeah.
growl. Yeah, and also the counter decks, and on top of that, it just helps feed into the 3rd chapter, right? So I dig that personally.
The other thing I would say, and then we got to move on to the next card to keep things going, but I think it'll also come down to how often do you draw a card. If my deck is regularly going to have the biggest creature on the battlefield, so I'm drawing a card with this, then that's really good, right? If this is get a basic land, get a counter, which I actually don't really care that much about a single postal counter, but it's still an upside, and then draw a card. If you get all the modes on it, then it's actually a pretty effective card. So
I would say that even if it's the option, the fact that you could have the opportunity to draw a card already makes it better. Those ramp spells, like the Farhaven Elves and all that, you don't even have that opportunity. So this is just giving me a shot at getting more value somehow, and I like that.
Yeah, but like Cultivate always draws me an extra card, and I could just cast that if I wanted to, or Kodama's Reach
Yeah,
for
of
3
Cultivate.
mana. Like, I
Ooh.
don't even got to risk it.
But it's a creature synergy.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is
yeah.
kinda
If you got the
good.
synergies.
Yeah, I don't
It is
think
good
it's
with
an auto
playoff
include,
cultivation.
but like,
Like,
yeah,
you can
that's true.
sacrifice it and don't feel bad because it would have died anyways, but
Yeah.
that's true for all the other options as well.
It's also
except for
cute.
the
You can
overall.
reanimate it with like Unearth and Helping Hands, like those super cheap reanimation spells and enchantment reanimation to keep it coming back. So
Sometimes.
it's a cool card. Anyway, Krim,
It is cool.
why don't you hit us up with the Saga?
I'm torn between two. So I guess I gotta pick one of these. You
might have another round. You might get to both of them eventually.
yeah, we might.
the Akroan War.
Ooh.
I still love the Akroan War. 3 and a red, gain control of target creature for as long as you control the Akroan War. Akroan War remains on the battlefield. Until your next turn, creatures your opponents control attack each combat if able. And then the third chapter, each tapped creature deals damage to itself equal to its power. So I just love this because it's a theft effect. It forces combat. There's no more there's lots of points in games where people are like, ooh, I don't want to attack because I don't want to make people mad. I want to set up my defenses so I can go my late game plan. This comes down to steals the best creature, forces combat, and that means and even if that's at me, that's usually fine, right? Because maybe I have something for that. I have your best creature. Who knows, right? Like, there's anything that forces combat and stays around for a little while, I like that a lot. And then eventually it removes all the stuff.
I play this one in my Go deck. I got a Furkrag Go deck is one of the decks I have in paper, and I play this in it because it makes you everyone attack. You can yoink one of your opponent's things, and then eventually, like the last mode, usually kills some stuff. At least it's like almost a wrath in some situations. So I don't know if I'd play it outside of my Go deck, but in my Go deck, it's really good.
I wouldn't play it in my Spellslinger deck, but I would say that if your deck has creatures and wants to be aggro, this is good.
It always plays better
I'm
than
happy you reminded me on this card. I like this card a lot. It reads really nice.
I probably never play it, but whenever it gets played against me, I think like, oh, that's very good.
Yeah,
But
no,
that's really not my play style, but yeah.
I like how the chapter 2 goes solo of chapter 3. And even if they attack you, like it's not goad, but even if they attack you, you have a creature to block with. So
Yeah.
and you actually want to get rid of it before the last chapter, right?
Right, because
Like,
then it goes back.
you could be you could be in a threatened style deck where you have sack outlets or you're playing aristocrats. I think like if you're like a Rakdos aristocrats deck, you could just run this as just like, I'm going to sacrifice this before I give it back anyway. So
it's.
this is sick.
I mean, when you consider that threatens are only 3 mana typically, this is only 1 more mana than like a threaten effect if you're doing those sacrifice synergies, and you get all the upside. So yeah, it's a good. I kind of
And
forgot
it's
about that
super
one too.
threatened.
Yeah,
You get
cool.
to keep it for the future.
For a couple
So-
turns. Yeah.
Whew.
Cool. All right. My turn, and I'm going to go to another new card, and I'm just curious what you guys think of this card, because I'm not sure how good it is, but I want to go with the biggest Saga creature, because I'm intrigued by this card, and that is Summon Bahamut, which is a 9-mana 9/9 Saga Dragon with flying. It has 4 chapters. First 2 lore counters, destroy up to 1 target non-land permanent. Next lore counter, number 3, draw 2 cards. Last lore counter, Mega Flare. This creature deals damage equal to the total mana value of other permanents you control to each opponent. So obviously, 9 mana is a ton. We're in the Portal to Phyrexia, Eldrazi range of a commander game once you're getting to 9 mana. But this does a lot. Like we were talking about Binding the Old Gods being removal that does other stuff. This is 2 removal spells. I am a little salty. It says non-land. I feel like on a 9-drop you could blow up any permanent wizards, but
No.
but yes, you can blow up any non-land permanent twice. Then you draw 2 cards, and then Mega Flare. If you can build a reasonable board, that last lore counter can just kill the table, right? If you have a bunch of high mana value stuff sitting on the battlefield, that can be a lot of damage. So I feel like this card probably really good in colorless decks. I'm curious about reanimation target. Like, do you guys think this is good enough if you're playing Reanimator? Is this part of your like commander reanimation package? What about like green ramp? That would be my other question. Can you just ramp into this and cast it fairly, or is it too much at 9 mana to be worth it? But what do you guys think of this one? How much play do you think this will see in Commander?
I love this card as just a Final Fantasy X boss. So this is just cool to see, and on top of that, it's so Timmy, but it's
is.
like power crep Timmy, right? And I want to build a Taval deck just for this, to be honest with you. But like, I really like this card, but I do not think outside of Reanimator game plans and mono green, like, are you playing this anywhere else outside of that?
It is colorless.
Saga decks, I guess.
Saga deck,
Saga.
sure. It
Saga
is
deck.
nice because it itself is colorless, so if someone has protection from a certain color, like a mom,
Yep.
right? This goes right
Yeah.
around that.
I think it's good in colorless decks too, because they ramp super
Mhm.
hard,
for
and
sure.
you're kind of restricted on the number of cards you can play. Where are you at with this one, Phil?
I
I know you're on the
hope
quest
it's
for
good.
Portal to Phyrexia. Are we going to see the quest
Yeah,
turns
I
out
mean,
with summon Bahamut?
Huh.
I feel like this one's easier in
Is it-
in more decks.
Yeah, it probably goes in more decks. I don't think 9 mana is too hard if you were playing green. Obviously, or artifact decks. Like 9 colorless is pretty easy. You could also mana drain into this. Like sometimes
Oh,
you
yeah.
mana drain
Yeah.
for 7 or something. And
Sure.
I'm
Mana
like,
drain
whoop.
might
Right.
Get
be
Mana
good.
Geyser
colorless
into
mana.
this.
It does suck that it's non-land permanent. I love the draw 2, which is also the easiest mode to loop, I think. And I think
for
the
looping counters.
Mega Flare is actually, if you ramp with permanents like Mana Rocks, I know farewell, but
Summon Fenrir.
this one seems pretty
All right,
You can get
yeah.
a little
pretty
damage
good
out of it.
to kill somebody with. And if you play it in colorless decks, like colorless decks are pretty good at copying colorless spells nowadays. Like the Commander does it, I think, and then doesn't this Eldrazi thing copy everything, even abilities from?
The Kindred thingy. I forgot. if
Yeah.
it's
Echoes.
all
Is Echoes
colors, it's
any
just-
color?
Is that just
Echoes of Eternity.
don't
Let me
know.
double check, actually. I'm curious. I love that card.
Is that just
Oh, the
Eldrazi or
colorless
like
It is.
color?
spell
When it
or
cuts off,
permanent.
yeah.
Yep. So you can double trigger it with Echoes of
Cool.
Eternity,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
kind of
that's
sick.
brutal.
I think this
So
card's
maybe it's just a
awesome.
colorless card, but it's one of the big ones, I think. And for
It's
colorless,
so
this is
cool.
cheap, I guess.
It is. That's
It
a
is
super
very
cool
The
card.
flavor of that last mode being Mega Flare is so sick.
I don't know what a Mega Flare is, but it is a
Yep.
pretty
Yeah.
cool card.
It's cool that it's a dragon as well.
That's it.
Oh yeah, what about, would you play an Ur-Dragon, Tomer? Like, not your Ur-Dragon, but
No.
is this a dragon card or no?
I think so. Actually, like if you just, I don't know how many dragons there are out there that just ETB take out any non-land permanents.
I don't know if there's any, come to think of. There's like
It's still-
balance. Maybe there is that I'm not thinking of, but it seems rare, yeah.
It's a lot of mana, but I feel also like this is just like if you're playing a dragon deck, you're just going for style points because like
Yeah.
you're just dunking on the biggest and most expensive things. Like imagine you mirror this out. Like, why not?
Oh,
Why not? You're already
disgusting,
winning.
Yeah.
You might as well win in style.
Rub it in
you
a
know?
little bit,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
The dragon
fun.
player way. Let's go back to the top of the order. Phil, why don't you hit us with a saga?
All right, another saga that I play more than other sagas, I guess. I don't know what you would expect, but Elspeth Conquers Death. Standard classic, 5 mana. First chapter, exile target permanent an opponent controls with converted mana cost 3 or greater, which is good because that's what you want to exile anyways. And then the second chapter is, I think that's the best. It is kind of stacks though.
It's so
And
annoying.
non-creature spells your opponent casts cost 2 more to cast until your next turn, which is just devastating. Like I have run into this, ruining my game plans. And I've ruined game plans with this, probably. I've heard people complain when I play this and
Mhm.
say, oh, my
Probably
turn
me.
would have been so
Yep.
good.
Yeah.
And then the last chapter is return target creature or planeswalker card from your graveyard, sadly, to the battlefield with an extra counter or extra loyalty counter. I do like, this is one of the ones like Restoration or the new summon Yojimbo. It just does a lot of stuff that I all like. I know it stacks. I give you that. Like one of the modes is a little stacky.
Eh.
The other one is good removal. It's also good to blink with like Yorion and stuff. It's just one of these do a bit of everything cards, and I like it.
I like this one quite a bit too. I don't think this is improper stacks. Like, it's only for one turn. It's the second chapter. Like, I don't think people shouldn't get salty about that, right? Like if you're someone who
Oh,
hates
they
death,
will.
do people really get
Yeah.
salty about one turn of Elspeth
always get
Conqueror's Death
salty.
Trigger? Well, yeah, okay. I guess we get salty about everything, but I feel like removal plus card advantage, removal plus reanimate something. I'm seeing a trend with the sagas that we like. Like our best sagas, like come down and kill something, and then in some way, like get a land, get me a creature, like generate some sort of card advantage. And Elspeth Conqueror's Death is another one of those. Like exile removal, eventually you reanimate something. Little awkward that it's only your graveyard. I have had my Elspeth Conquer Deaths go off and not had something to reanimate before, so that does happen on occasion. But still, yeah, solid white saga for sure.
Crim's comparison to Planeswalkers is so good. Like
Yeah.
Planeswalkers usually minus to kill something and then
Mhm.
die. And then in this,
Yeah.
You gotta
at
be,
least there's something else.
the key for me is like the sagas have to be front loaded. I want the first chapter to have immediate impact, and this one definitely does.
Yep.
I really like this one a lot.
Well, Tomer, why don't you give us a saga? Another saga you like.
Oh, there's so many. I like so many of them.
Sagas
Okay,
are
okay,
cool.
okay, wait. Um, okay. I'll do this one because it's one that I don't know if a lot of people talk about. It's very cheap, but I love it in one of my decks. It's Ballad of the Black Flag. It's a 3-mana blue enchantment saga, and it has 4 chapters. The first 3 chapters are all the same. It says mill 3 cards. Then you may put a historic card from among them into your hand. And then the 4th chapter says historic spells you cast this turn cost 2 less to cast. So I have one specific home for this card, and it's my Tetsun artifact deck. And Tetsun's all about artifacts, and specifically double-faced artifacts, and milling. It's like basically it's an artifact graveyard graveyard deck. And Battle of the Black Flag is like the best card in that deck because I have 52 artifacts in that deck. So I have 52 hits in this deck. So basically the first 3 chapters for 3 mana, it's mill 3, and then I get to return an artifact to my hand. And it's putting stuff in my graveyard, so it's filling my graveyard for graveyard synergies. And then the last chapter is just like super, super amazing. Just all my artifacts, which are mostly colorless spells, all of them cost 2 less. And I just get to have a crazy pop-off turn. Like, even if I don't get to the last thing, just the first 3 chapters are like immediate value for me. And then the last chapter is like so good. And yeah, I just like, I always look at like artifact lists and I wonder if people are running it. And like nobody does. And like it's a 14 set card. And I don't know, am I taking crazy pills? Is this
I
like,
didn't know
is
this
it only
existed.
good for like Tetsun or like,
I
what do you guys think about this?
I totally kind of overlooked that this card existed. It was from the Assassin's Creed set, I think, and I just didn't pay
Yes.
attention to it. But when you think about it, it's split up over a few turns, but it should be a 3-mana draw 3 in the right deck, and then you ramp. What do we talk about all the time? Card advantage, mana advantage, card advantage, mana advantage. Maybe not the most powerful version of mana advantage since it's 1 turn or whatever. But I think if you're in a deck where realistically you should draw 3 off of this, it seems really good to me. Plus, like you said, you're filling the graveyard. So yeah, artifact decks or legendary decks even could play this, right? Because legends are also
Sagas.
historic. So if you're playing like, yeah, you got sagas too. So yeah, I think in the decks that can sport it, I think I'm going to try this card. I just honestly forgot that it was a thing.
The problem is I play 2 artifact decks, and I don't think I'll. It is not an artifact.
No.
It is
That is
historic,
awkward,
I guess.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna play it, but I am jealous of the turn with Chapter 4. I'm just never gonna get there.
I don't know how many you need to run. How many hits do you need to run for mill 3 to be consistent? I would need a 90%
50,
rate.
I think.
for
You
me
need a
to run
90%
it.
rate? Oh boy. Okay.
Or else I wouldn't run it.
Yeah,
all right, let's-
unless
This would
you
have to
take
be like in a
advantage of the
Joda
milling.
deck then or something like that, right?
Yeah, but like for me, I know I did I remember I did the math and I had like I had
Oh,
52 hits.
Actually,
and
okay.
it was enough.
I just plugged it into the calculator. If you have 50 hits, you are 88% to hit at least 1. So I guess if you got it, that's probably why you ended up at 52 or 53. That probably, 53
Yeah.
gets it to 90% exactly. So yeah, if half of your deck is legendary, artifacts, or sagas, then the card seems really worth it. And I could argue even, I would accept a little more risk than that. Like, if you're playing
Yeah.
40 or like 79%, that might still be acceptable in some decks, especially if you care about filling your graveyard, if that's like an upside to you because you're going to reanimate or something. Yeah, the card actually seems good. Good call, Tomer. I totally slept on this card.
Okay, this is just kind of like I haven't gotten enough games in with it yet, but it's just one that it reads nice, and it's the only time I played it, it was nice. It was Summon Valefor, and that's from the Final Fantasy Commander stuff.
Yes.
5 mana, 5/4 Flying Drake. Sonic Wings. Each opponent chooses a creature with the greatest mana value among creatures they control. Return those creatures to their hand. Then chapters 2, 3, and 4 tap up to one target creature and put a stun counter on it. This is the one time I played it. It was nasty. Like, it locked down a board. It just kind of just tapped down the best stuff, and you just kind of got to go swing and do whatever you wanted. Like, the board was single-handedly locked down by Valefor.
Oh, yeah.
Outside of obviously the creatures I don't care
Soul Shatter.
about. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this not Blue Soul Shatter? Is this why you have a kindred?
That is this.
Yeah,
brother.
It
It's Blue Soul Shatter,
Yeah.
and it's so good though. It stuns things down. I'm telling you, I really have fallen in love with stun counters. Right? Like, stun counters are in this weird spot where it does really sink the ship of, like, it puts the opponent like off a turn, right? Like, on some of their best stuff. So I have really appreciated stun counters as a mechanic. I wish we'd see more shield counters and stuff like that as well. But like right now, stun counters are my jam, and I'm loving them. So I want to see more of it, to be honest. And it's easy to proliferate them.
Oh, yeah,
It's
that
also
is true.
crazy if you
Stun
blink
counters are
this.
cool.
Like, this is very front-loaded. And if you
That's-
blink
yeah.
this, it's like a 3 tempo 3-for-1.
Yep.
This one's
First
seems
chapter
pretty
is
sick.
so nutty.
Good
Yeah,
thing you
the
didn't play
first
this
chapter
against
you
me.
do
Yeah,
the
it's-
5/4 body.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like,
Flying.
it seems good, but I don't know what deck I'd play it in. But then Phil said blink it, so I guess blink decks it seems good. But that was gonna be my question for you. Like, is this something you need a specific deck to go in, Crim, or do you just jam this? You can jam it in any deck you think, and it's fine. Do you need any synergies to make it be good?
Do I need synergies to play Soul Shatter?
No,
that
no,
that
no, you
question?
don't. Crim. No, you don't.
The synergy is Soul Shatter.
I know
right?
that
So-
firsthand. Yes.
Got it. But is this like
This-
the first time we have Soul Shatter on like an ETB creature?
It's that
Like,
bounce,
if you
okay?
blink,
It is bounce, but
come
But it
on,
bounces
Yeah,
don't
I think
get
it's the
all
first
people
version we've had
excited.
this exact effect. Yeah.
It's also the greatest mana value. Like, if I'm bouncing a 4-drop of you, I'm totally happy if you spending your next turn recasting that 4-drop or something.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
that's
if it's
true.
like 6 or something, oh my god. Imagine I'm bouncing a 6-drop of yours. Oh.
And I'll be perfectly
that
happy to recast my Mole Drifter. So win-win.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair.
if the opponent spends their turn again to play
Yeah, it's
funky
just
crap,
recast the same thing.
Yeah.
that's all
Oh.
you want in a blue deck.
Oh, and then you start tapping stuff down and
Yeah,
Oh.
you start stunning everything. Oh,
I'm in love.
Valefor
I'm
is
in love
so
with this
sick.
card.
All right. We have one more saga. My final pick. I know we've talked a lot about Final Fantasy sagas because it's a hot new thing, but it wasn't that long ago. Tarkir Dragonstorm was the hot new thing. And there's actually
What?
some really
that?
cool sagas in that set. There's a whole cycle of these rare sagas that are built around the wedge colors. And a lot of them are pretty good, but the one I want to shout out that I think is interesting is called Thunder of Unity. So Thunder of Unity is a 3-mana Mardu saga. First lore counter says you draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. And then it has 2 more lore counters. 2 and 3 are whenever a creature you control enters this turn, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. So this is a card that I haven't got to play with a ton, just because it's in 3 colors, so you really got to be Mardu or like 5 colors to have a home for it. But I think this is a pretty powerful effect. I mean, 3 mana for a draw 2 is fine. I'd rather it be a draw 3, but really you're paying, what, a 1-mana tax or something? And then those second 2 lore counters, number 2 and number 3, really, really strong. It's like an impact tremor, but it's kind of like a blood artist, so you're actually gaining life too, which is something you normally don't see on the impact tremor style effects. So I think this was designed to go in like the mobilized decks that are making all these tokens and you're temporarily making them and they're burning your opponent out of the game. But I think in any sort of like go wide Mardu deck where you're just like putting a bunch of bodies into play, the card seems really good to me. The base mode of draw 2 is fine. And then if you can set things up, maybe you have some mass reanimation turn or just a turn where you make a whole bunch of tokens, you can deal a lot of damage and gain a lot of life with the last 2 lore counters. But what do you guys think of Thunder of Unity?
This is like a finisher that has flexibility because like you can kind of like time this where like, okay, I'm gonna pop off, I'm gonna play a bunch of tokens or whatever, and I'm gonna drain everybody to death, and it's gonna be wonderful. But you could also like just play it early, like if it's early game, whatever, turn 3 I divination, it's not the worst, and then I get some life back afterwards. That's fine. But I feel like this is actually like a late game card that's masquerading as something that you can play earlier on, and it's a good filler earlier on too. It has flexibility.
I think it's a great way to look at it. It's like, oh no, I'm going to miss my land drop on turn 3. I can play my Thunder Unity to make sure that I hit my lands. But it's really going to be at its best when you set it up as like a combo kill in the late game. But what about you, Phil and Krim? Where are you at with this one?
I have not seen it in Commander yet, but it is interesting to think about it as that. Like in Impact Tremors with life gain, it's kind of sad that it doesn't gain life for each life lost
that would
this
be
way.
so good, yeah.
But I guess
Oh
you
my
can
God, yeah.
play it on like 5 and then play like 2. How many creatures do enter? Or do you play this in like actual mobilized decks? Because you
It's
rarely
got to
play
be
more
in a
than 2.
mobilized
So
deck,
it
right?
works. It works really well with mass blink stuff, like eerie interlude effects. If you blink your whole
Yeah.
board because they're
yeah.
entering, or like raise the past, or ascend from Avernus reanimation. If you get everything back, so I'd be looking for those kind of synergies on top of like even just X token synergies is pretty good. If you get to turn 6 or 7, you just dump all your mana into something that's make secure the waste effect. Even that's still like a lot of life and a lot of drain.
My problem with this is that it seems so 1v1 focused. I know this sounds crazy in the year 2025.
Each opponent, Krim. Each opponent.
I see that. I see each opponent, but like the purpose of this card feels like it's meant to boost a mobilized deck or something in
Yeah,
a 20 life format. Whereas in Commander, like, like maybe I feel like in more often than not, this is going to be draw 2, lose 2, maybe ping a people a few times like that, like maybe
Yeah.
once or twice.
On
That's
turn
about
3,
it,
probably.
right?
Early
Yeah.
game, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
definitely
right?
the
Like-
early game play.
And then the late game side of it, it's like, yeah, sure, maybe. But like I want the draw side more than the chapters 2 and 3. Although it's nice to have, like Tomer had mentioned, it is nice to have this because it can be a win con, but
Ooh. How about this? It's in white, and it's only 3 mana. So you can play it early, do what Krim was saying, and then later you can like Sun Titan or Divine's Reclamation it back to set up your like combo kill and draw some more cards later.
that part is sweet. But then like Sun Titan bringing something back is,
Yeah, I know. We're
that's
breaking Sun Titan, yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, finally.
Anyway, I like Thunder Unity. I think it's a cool card.
like
I
it.
just haven't got to play with it very much because of it's the colors that it's in. I haven't played that many Mardu decks that would want it, but I'm sure I will someday. Anyway, that brings us to the end of our best sagas for Commander. Oh,
Before we even wrap up there,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
surprised no one said 3 blind mice. Okay, wrap it up.
leave that part in, Richard. That was a good one. I'm surprised by that too. Anyway, everyone, that brings us to the end of our best sagas for Commander, our favorite sagas for Commander, sagas in Commander in general. So you heard our favorite sagas and our best sagas. Let us know what sagas you like. What did we get right? What did we get wrong? Let us know in the comments, and we'll be back next week to talk even more Commander. So until then, have an amazing week, everyone, and this is Akroan signing out.